Daf Yomi, Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 28. Daf Kaf Ches. Kaf Chet. Starting at the bottom of Chav Zayin Amud Beis, Chav Zayin Amud Bet, the bottom, with the words Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Kol Makesh Mechalin Aliyash Es Shabbos Ein Misrapin Bahem. The Gemara examines various circumstances in which one is permitted to receive treatment from a Gentile. Rabba Bar Chana says, that Rabbi Yochanan says, with regard to any injury for which Shabbat is desecrated, one may not be treated by Gentiles. Any injury for which Shabbat is desecrated, one may not be treated by Gentiles. And there are those who say that Rabba Bar Chana says that Rabbi Yochanan says. Now, I need to make a disclaimer. In fact, this is not necessarily the law for today. Many doctors, many places, medical institutions are not Jewish, and they're able to do things for Jewish people. I don't think this is the same law. So today, I'm just saying that because I want, let it be known that I'm just reading the content. Okay, going forward, there are those who say that Rabba Bar Chana says that Rabbi Yochanan says with regard to any, now in the top of 28a. Makeh shel chalal ein misrapin mehen mai beinayu ik beinayu. Gav hayad gav haregel. Te'amar v'adavar masna amrav. Gav hayad gav haregel harehen. Kimakeh shel chalal mechalelin aleihen et haShabbat. Internal injury, one may not be treated by them. When it comes to internal injury, the Gemara asks, what is the difference between the two versions of Rabbi Yochanan's statement? There is a difference between them with regard to the case of one who was injured on the back of the hand or on the back of the foot. As Rav Ada Bar Matana says, that Rav says, injuries to the back of the hand and the back, the top of the foot, are like internal injury, and one may desecrate Shabbat for their treatment. Amar Rav Zutya bar Tovia Amar Rav Kol Magash Zira Men Machalin Zira Omed Mechalin Alei Shabbat. Amar Rav Shemen bar Abba Amar Rav Yochanan Bahai Ishata Tzimirta Kimogesh El Chalal Dame Machalin Alei Shabbat. Rav Zucher Bar Tovia says, that Rav says, with regard to any injury that requires a medical evaluation to determine whether or not it is fatal, one may desecrate the Shabbat for its treatment. Rav Shemen Bar Abba says that Rav Yochanan says, and a burning fever is similar to an internal injury, and therefore one may desecrate Shabbat for its treatment. Vehechel makeh shel chalal peresh of ami min ha-safa v'lifnim boi Rav Eliezer kake v'shinei mai kevan deko shnei negamaka b'davar b'dam odilma kevan negave chayvi kemachah shel chalal damu. The Gemara inquires from what point on the body is a wound considered an internal injury. Rabbi Ami explained, from the lips inward. Rabbi Eliezer raises a dilemma. With regard to afflictions located in the gums or teeth, what is the halacha? Do we say that since they are located in firm parts of the body, they are similar to external injuries? Or perhaps we say that since they are situated within the mouth, they are similar to internal injuries. Amar Abaye Tashma HaChoishish B'Shinov ולא יגמע בהן את החומץ. חושש הוא דלה, הכאב לטובה, שהפרדם ידילמה קטן אחד לכאב לה. טובה חושש, נמי קרא לה. Abai said, come and hear a proof from a Mishnah. Shabbat 111a. One who is concerned about pain in his teeth may not sip vinegar through them on Shabbat for medicinal purposes, as it is generally prohibited by rabbinic law to perform acts of healing on Shabbat. This is what they're saying. Okay. Abai infers it is only when he is merely concerned about pain in his teeth that he may not treat them, which indicates that if it hurts him greatly, he is permitted to seek treatment. The Gemara rejects this inference. Perhaps the Tana also characterizes a situation where it hurts one greatly as one of mere concern. Tashima Rabbi Yochanan chash b'tzaf dina azir gabi matronita amda chamsa umare shabta amare l'machar mai amare lo tzrichta i tzrichta mai amra ishtaba li dela megalit ishtaba la le'elaha Yisrael la megalina Galia le lemachar nafak tarsha bepirka. The Gemara suggests, and disclaimer, this is a very interesting and maybe perhaps controversial story. The Gemara suggests a different proof. Come and hear the following incident. Rabbi Yochanan suffered from the illness of tzafdina, which affects the teeth and gums. He went to a certain Gentile matron who was a well-known healer. She prepared a medicine for him on Thursday and Friday. Rabbi Yochanan said to her, "What shall I do tomorrow on Shabbat when I cannot come to collect the medicine from you?" She said to him, "You will not need it." Rabbi Yochanan asked her, "And if I do need it, what shall I do?" She said to him, "Take an oath to me that you will not reveal the remedy, and I will tell you, so that you can prepare it yourself should you need it." Rabbi Yochanan took an oath to her, "To the God of the Jews, I will not reveal it." She revealed the remedy to him, and on the following day, Rabbi Yochanan went out and taught it publicly, revealing the secret of the remedy. And, okay, without my own comments, I'll just continue. Yisrael lo megalina, אבל לעמי ישראל מגלינה. ויקח חיל להשם, דגלי לעת מקרא. The Gemara challenges this, but Rabbi Yochanan took an oath to her that he would not reveal her secret. I guess at this point the Gemara is equally as shocked as I was. Why would he take an oath and reveal it? The Gemara explains that his vow meant, "I will not reveal it to the God of the Jews," which indicates, I will reveal it to his people, the Jews. So he's doing shtick now. He said, "I swear that I won't reveal it to the God of the Jews because nothing can be revealed to God." But that tricked her. And it was Geneva's Das in a sense. Even though he didn't literally say, "I won't reveal it to the Jews, I won't reveal it to the God of the Jews," but it sounded to her like he was swearing that he wouldn't reveal it. But even so, okay, fine. Gemara says maybe technically he was okay, but isn't there a desecration of God's name? As the matron now thinks that great man of Rabbi Yochanan's stature violated his vow. And he tricked her, it's even worse. The Gemara answers that he revealed it to her at the outset. The Gemara says that the moment that she told it to him, he already told her that he's going to reveal it. I don't see how that makes it better. As soon as she disclosed the remedy to him, he informed her that his vow would not prevent him from publicizing it. I don't understand why you couldn't just keep it secret anyway. Is there a backstory here? Why couldn't you just keep it secret? Why did you have to tell everybody? Someone had some pain, maybe you could tell them discreetly. No, why did he have to publicize it? It's a very, very mysterious story to me. I mean, he has a remedy. It's a secret remedy. It really helped him out. Okay, so now he has a secret, and if someone comes to him, right? They don't tell them secretly, tell them privately. Why does he have to publicize it? I don't get that. It's a big question. Anyway, Alma Kama Shel Chalal Dami. Amr Rav Nachman Yitzchak Shani Tzavdina Hoel B'Chalal V'Per Gomel B'Lei Me'ayim. With regard to the issue at hand, the Gemara asked, apparently an affliction that affects the gums is similar to an internal injury, as it was permitted for Yehoshua to prepare the remedy on Shabbat. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, Tzavdina is different, since it begins in the mouth and ends in the intestines, meaning the disease spreads until it affects one's intestines, and therefore is considered an internal affliction, even while it is only in the mouth. Consequently, the incident involved in Rabbi Yochanan affords no proof, and Rabbi Eliezer's dilemma remains unresolved. Okay. My simane Rami midi bekrake umezi damen bedari mamai habe mikarri karri dechite michamemi chameme disare Mishure kasa di harsanam. My Abdaleh, Amar Rabbi Acha B'Red Rava, Mesh Seor v'Shem Zayit v'Melach, Umar Baravashi Amar Mishcha di Azvaza B'Gadifa di Azvaza. The Gemara inquires, what are the symptoms of tzavdina? If one places an item between his teeth, blood flows from the rows of teeth. From what does it result? It results from the consumption of very cold wheat foods, and from very hot barley foods, and from remains of fried fish. With what remedy did the Gentile matron treat Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Achas and Rava said it was water in which leaven was steeped, with olive oil and salt. And Mar Rashi said she smeared goose fat over his gums with a goose feather. Okay. Amar Abaye anavdi kulehu velo itasai ad diamar yahutaya. הייתי כשייתה זיתה, דלא מלאו תלתה, וכלינו אמר לך זיתה, ודק ועבד דרך, עבדי אחי ואיתסאי. Abaye said, I prepared all of these medicines and was not cured from this ailment until a certain Arab told me the remedy for it. Take olive seeds that are less than 1/3 ripe, and burn them in a fire on top of a new hoe, and stick them along the row of gums. Olive seeds that are less than 1/3 ripe, and burn them in a fire on top of a new hoe, and stick them along the rows of gums. I did this and was cured. Rabbi Yochanan echia v'lachi ve'amar Rabbi Bar Barchan Rabbi Yochanan kol manash b'chanan alei Shabbat en mitrapin bahen adam chashuv shani. It was stated above that Rabbi Yochanan sought the medical attention of a Gentile. The Gemara asks, and how could Rabbi Yochanan do so? But doesn't Rabbi Bar Barchan say that Rabbi Yochanan says, with regard to any injury for which Shabbat is desecrated, one may not be treated by Gentiles. Tzavdina is a disease for which Shabbat is desecrated, and yet Rabbi Yochanan was treated by a Gentile. The Gemara answers, an important person such as Rabbi Yochanan is different, as Gentiles would not dare kill him. Rabbi Abahu di'amar chashuv hava u'ramar Yaakov mina asama ashake ila Rabbi Ami v'rayasi dilachucha v'shake paske v'shake. The Gemara questions us, but Rabbi Abahu was an important person, and yet Yaakov the heretic placed upon his leg a salve that was actually a poison. And if it were not for Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi who licked his leg to remove his poison, his leg would have to be amputated. Apparently Yaakov the heretic attempted to kill Rabbi Abahu despite the fact that Rabbi Abahu was an important person. They licked it. Wow. The Rabbi Yochanan Rofe Mumchave, the Rabbi Abahu Nami Rofe Mumchave, Shani Rabbi Abahu L'mok B'minayet, Shai T'mos Nafshi In Pilishtim. The Gemara explains the healer of Rabbi Yochanan was an expert physician who would not jeopardize her reputation by harming him. The Gemara rejects this explanation, but the healer of Rabbi Abahu was also an expert physician. The Gemara answers, the case involving Rabbi Abahu is different, as heretics established within themselves the attitude of, let me die with the Philistines, Judges 16:30, meaning that heretics are willing to risk their lives in order to hurt Jews due to their religious disputes. By contrast, Gentiles will not jeopardize their own reputation for this purpose, and therefore it was permitted for Rabbi Yochanan to be treated by the matron. Amar Shmuel, Hai Padatat Sakantahi, Umachal Aleat Shabbat, Maya Suta, Lemispak Davatach Lechala, Leasok Girda, Diabla Vingirda Diasana, Onikra Vikirkanta. Gemara lists a series of afflictions and the remedies. Shmuel said, this gash caused by a sword is considered a danger to one's life, and one may desecrate Shabbat for its treatment. The Gemara asks, what is the remedy for this wound? To stop the blood flow, one should consume cress soaked in vinegar. To cause flesh to emerge over the gash, one applies a salve made of yavla scrapings and thornbush scrapings, or a salve made from the worms of the trash. Amr Safra Ahai Invita Paravanka Timalacha Chamacha Demotahi Maya Suta Tigna Beduvsha O Karpesa Betilaya Adahi Lete Invita Bat Mina Benigandar Ilui, or brackets it says Ilave Chivarti Liukanti. Rav Safra said these grape-like boils are the forerunners of the angel of death, meaning they often precede one's death. The Gemara asks, what is the remedy? The remedy is either a tigna plant soaked in honey or parsley soaked in wine. In the meantime, while the plants are soaking, one should bring a grape of the same size and rub it on the boil, a white grape for a white boil, and a black grape for a black boil. Amarave hai sitma parvanka dishata hi maya sota vecheshitin it kutle velikre sheti ve'erev Yahadi mili tilachi varesh yavarchi varesh letlan. Rava said this abscess is the forerunner of fever. The Gemara asks, what is the remedy? One should snap the boil 60 times with his fingers, click one's fingers on the boil, Ouch. And then he should tear it vertically and horizontally. 60 times with his fingers on the boil, and then tear it vertically. Shiti ve'erev. The Gemara comments, and this statement applies only in a case where the head of the abscess was not whitened. But if its head was whitened, we have no problem with it, meaning it is in the process of healing and it does not pose any danger. Rav Yaakov Chash. And now we turn to 28b. Top of the page, Pika Orile Rabami, Viamrile Ravaziorile, Lesti Shabile Halatolana. Itziale bechalala de beit Zavara. Vilich rich ilave nira barka. Vetamesh le venifta chivara. Velik le u vedar le ilave. Adahachi vahachi le te kashiata de asana de nach pikaha de hade pika. Rabbi Yaakov suffered from hemorrhoids. Rabbi Ami instructed him, and some say that Rabbi Asi instructed him that he should bring 7 seeds of ice plant that are red like a worm and bind them in the collar of his shirt. And then he should wrap a strip of hair around it and dip the bundle in white naphtha. And he should burn it and spread the ashes upon the sores. In the meantime, he should bring the kernel of a bramble fruit and place its crevice against his own crevice, meaning against his rear end, wherever the hemorrhoids were. Okay? The Gemara remarks, and this matter applies only to the upper crevice, which is located at the outer edge of the bungus, and can be treated with bramble fruit. What should one do if he's experiencing pain in the lower crevice, located deeper within the bungus? He should bring the fat of a goat that is not yet opened, meaning given birth, and should melt it, and then he should apply it to the irritated area. V'ila letetelat tarvakaran dim ayabashi betula v'liklele v'talilave ila lete dimshag lechazone ila mati mashaki God v'shakate yichintana v'kaete v'nadamagovna v'sitva. And if it is not possible, he should bring 3 pumpkin leaves that were dry in the shade, and he should burn them. And then he should spread the ashes upon the irritated area. And if this is not possible, he should bring snail shells instead. And if this is also not possible, he should bring oil mixed with wax, and he should smear it upon worn flax clothing in summer or worn cotton clothing in winter, and place it upon the irritated area. Rabbi Bahu suffered from pain in his ear. Rabbi Yochanan instructed him. Some say the sages from the study hall instructed him how to heal it. What did they instruct him? The famous, my mother told me, Abaya, often throughout the Shas, says my mother told me, Amrli Aim. Lo yibreku laitera deudina amrava. Amali ben yomer asaya kula shakainu. From bracket it says shakayani. Kashule udina. Lebar mimaya dechulataya. לתיקולתיה דבר חככה, וליקרא שתי וערב. ולנחם מלילה דנורה. דהנו מה ידנף כביני לישדינו, בעודנה לא קררה, ולא חמימה אלא פשעי. What did they instruct him when he had ear issues? They told him to act in a fashion similar to that which Abiah said. My mother told me that the kidney was created only for the ear, meaning it can be extremely beneficial to the ear. And Rava said, Min Yumi, the physician, said to me, all liquids are harmful to the ear except for the fluid of the kidneys. Therefore, Rabbi Abahu should bring the kidney of a bald goat and tear it vertically and horizontally, and then place it upon dimming coals. And as for those fluids that issue from it, he should apply them to his ear, while they are neither cold nor hot, but tepid. V'ila leititar b'dichifu shata gemarlatnita v'lipashar v'lishdebe v'ila limalai le'udene mishcha v'lebad shah petilata de'aspasta v'leiteshu shata de'tumha v'leitov barka v'chad reshe v'litle b'hu nura v'idach reshe b'oteva v'udena v'leitov udene lehada nura v'liz hadar mizika v'nishko l'chada v'nanach chada. The Gemara adds, and if this is not possible, you should bring the fat of a large beetle and melt it and apply it to the ear. And if not, he should fill his ear with oil and prepare 7 wicks made of alfalfa and bring dried garlic ends and tie the ends to the wicks with a strip of hair at one end and set the wicks aflame. Ouch, it's going to burn his ear, no? Wow. I wonder if I did that subconsciously because I'm reading this. Who knows? And tie the ends of the wicks. Okay, he should fill his ear with oil and prepare 7 wicks made of alfalfa, and bring dried garlic ends and tie the ends of the wicks with a strip of hair. That sounds really hard. A strip of hair at one end and set the wicks aflame, and he should place the other end of each wick in his ear one at a time and place his ear opposite the flame. Parenthetically, more notes. And he should be cautious of drafts, avoid them, as they will harm his ear. The Gemara continues, and he should take 1 wick and remove 1 wick, replace each wick as it is consumed until all 7 have been used. Lishnachri nabila leitesha petil tabikara v'shayv le'mishcha despasta. The Gemara presents another version of this remedy. And if not, he should bring 7 wicks of wax tapers and smear them with alfalfa oil and place 1 end of each wick in the flame and 1 end in his ear, and take 1 wick and remove 1 wick, and again he should be cautious of drafts. Vila letiuda lenada lenumashkat danachba. V'nitzlai leudana hainura v'ezar zika. V'nizadar zika. V'ila leite gufta dikanya atika barba'a shnin. V'limche milche v'li milche milcha gelal nita. ונקלה ונדבק וסימנח רטיבה ויבשתה רטיבה. And if this is not possible, he should bring fiber that was dried but not combed and place it in his ear, and then bring his ear up as the flame. He should then be cautious of drafts, and if not, he should bring the tube of an aged reed that is 100 years old, meaning that has been detached from the ground for a century, and salt it with rock, and then burn it and stick it in his ear. The Gemara adds, and you're mnemonic to remember. And your mnemonic to remember these remedies is this: moist cures are prescribed for dry afflictions, and dry cures are prescribed for moist afflictions. Okay. Amar Rabba Bar Zutra, Amar Rabba Bar Zutra, Rabba Bar Zutra, Rabba Bar Zutra, Rabba Bar Zutra, Amar Rabba Bar Zutra. Amar Rav Chanina Malin Ozdayim b'Shabbat, Tani Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda b'Yad aval lo b'Sam, Ikad Yamri b'Sam aval b'Yad. My time. Mizarayef Zarif. The Gemara returns the issue of medical treatment on Shabbat. Rabbi Bar Zutra says, or Rabbi Chanina says, one may raise his ears to their appropriate position, meaning set his dislocated jaw on Shabbat. Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda teaches this applies only if one raises it by hand, but not by means of medicine. There are those who say the opposite. One may raise his ears by means of medicine, but not by hand. What is the reason that one may not manually raise the ear? It is because doing so might injure the ear, which would constitute a violation of Torah law, whereas applying medicine is a violation of rabbinic law. Okay? Amar Rav Zuz Rav Tovia, Amar Rav Ayin Shimar Damutar. Lechola b'Shabbat Savor minehani mirihudi shechiki zaman v'etmol Avol nishchak b'Shabbat v'etui derech l'shut harabim lo Amar le ahu maravan Rav Yaakov Mishmei L'didi mi parsha minad Rav Yehuda afilu nishchak b'Shabbat v'etui derech l'shut harabim mutar. Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia says that Rav says, with regard to an eye that rebelled, meaning which is apt to pop out of its socket, it is permitted to apply blue eyeshadow to it on Shabbat. The sages initially concluded from this that this statement applies only where one had already ground the ingredients yesterday on Shabbat Eve. But if you plan to grind them on Shabbat, or to bring them through a public domain, it would not be permitted, as this would constitute a desecration of Shabbat by Torah law. To dispel this notion, one of the sages, named Rabbi Yaakov, said to them, this matter was explained to me by Rabbi Yehuda, who said that even if he plans to grind the ingredients on Shabbat and bring it through a public domain, it is permitted. Rabbi Yehuda Sarah Michal Ena b'Shabbat Amar Lehu Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Man Sait LeYehuda Mechil Shabbat LeSof Chashbena Shlach LeSareh O Asir Shlach LeLechol Alma Asreh Edida Chazir. The Gemara relates that Yehuda permitted someone to apply blue eyeshadow to the eye on Shabbat. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yehuda said to the sages, one who adheres to the ruling of Yehuda desecrates Shabbat. Ultimately, Shmuel Bar Yehuda himself suffered pain in his eye. He sent a message to Rabbi Yehuda asking, is it permitted or prohibited for me to treat my eye on Shabbat? Rabbi Yehuda sent back to him, for everyone else is permitted, for you is prohibited, as you treated my lenient ruling with this day. Ouch. Dimar Shmueli, Hayamta, Dehavid Be'ma Shmuel, Dekadacha, Le'ena B'Shabbata, Tzavcha, V'lecha Da'ashverba, Kakaina, L'machar, Davak Mar Shmuel, Odrash, Ein Shemorda, Mutar, Lecholacha, B'Shabbat, Baitayma, Desharyane, De'ena, Ve'uvanta, De'diba, Talu. Rabbi Yehuda continues, but was it not of my own accord that I issued this ruling? It is the ruling of Mar Shmuel, as demonstrated in the following incident. There was a certain maidservant who was in the house of Mar Shmuel, whose eye became infected on Shabbat. She screamed in pain, but there was no one who attended to her. Eventually, her eye popped out of its socket. Yee! The next day, Mar Shmuel went out and taught, with regard to an eye that rebelled, meaning an eye that popped out of its socket, it is permitted to apply blue eyeshadow to it on Shabbat. What is the reason for this leniency? Seeing that, as one may desecrate Shabbat only to treat life-threatening afflictions, the reason is that the tendons of the eye are dependent upon the valves of the heart. Kigon mai, Amar Rav Yehuda, Kigon rira, ditza dema dimata nikidcha utchilat uchla leapok esof uchla upetzucheina adela. The Gemara asks, what ailment of the eye, for example, is considered life-threatening? Or Yehuda said, for example, any of the following: abnormal discharge, the sensation of pricking, blood flow from the eye, excessive tearing, and inflammation, and the onset of an infection. This list serves to exclude the final stages of a waning infection that is mostly healed, and the opening of the eye, meaning the treatment administered to improve one's eyesight, which are not life-threatening, and therefore one is not permitted to treat them on Shabbat. Amar Rav Yehuda, zibura u dicharze silva vesimta dichaev le'ena ve'asir ve'ishata kulehu be'bane sakanda chama lechama ve'sir galatzina ve'chilo ve'sakanda chamimi le'akrava Ikari lezibura ve'chilo ve'sakanda chamimi le'silva ve'kareri. Yehuda says, with regard to one who suffers from the sting of a hornet, or the prick of a thorn, or an abscess, or one whose eye pains him, or one overcome by a fever, bathing him in the bathhouse is a life-threatening danger for all of these. Additionally, eating radish is good for a fever, and eating beets is good for chills. But the reverse, eating a radish when one has chills, or beets when one has a fever, poses a danger. Similarly, eating hot foods is good for the sting of a scorpion, and cold foods are good for a hornet sting. But the reverse poses a danger. Hot water is good for a thorn embedded in one's skin, and cold water is good